Welcome everyone to this fireside chat we're hosting today with none other than Stephen Goldfeder, co-founder and CEO of Off-Chain Labs building Arbitrum, and of course Doug Pecanix, co-founder and CEO of Livepeer Studios building Livepeer. How are you doing today, guys?
Great. Thanks for
Yeah,
having
happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
for hosting.
Awesome. Great. Yeah, Doug, did I say your last name correctly? I was unsure if I should say it or not, but I think I got it right.
You nailed it. Yep, Doug Petcanics.
Yes, it's a very underrated thing that's, always an issue. Anyways, awesome. Well, for today's conversation, it's gonna be mainly surrounding Livepeer's move to Arbitrum, along with some other things that we'll be talking about. We'll also leave the room open for questions at the end. So if you want to ask anything to Doug or Steven, feel free to drop them in the AMA chat above this channel, that little text channel there, and we'll take questions, from there later on. But with that out of the way, Steve, Doug, do you mind if we start off with just maybe giving some brief intros into both projects and what your motivation was with starting them? And if you want, Stephen, you can actually kick off.
Sure. Excited to be here with you, Doug, today. And yeah, I'll talk a little bit about Arbitrum and the motivation. Arbitrum actually started off closing in on a decade ago at Princeton from an academic point. I wasn't involved yet. That was in my co-founder Ed's early work there. And the idea was, and I became involved a few years later in the academic sense at Princeton as well. And the idea was that we saw this new primitive called smart contracts, and it was obvious to us they would be very, very powerful. But it was also obvious to us that the piping and the infrastructure for these smart contracts that was being proposed wasn't going to be able to handle massive scale. So the question was, what's going to happen long term? Is this going to take off and then we're in trouble because there's just not enough capacity to actually handle these transactions and these applications that we think will come, or is it going to go away? And we really didn't believe it would go away, so we believed, okay, there's going to be a need for smart contracts and in particular a need for scaling solutions. And like I mentioned, it started off actually well before even the Ethereum blockchain was launched and live, and smart contracts were just theorized. Ed was thinking very much about, hey, how do we scale these? And when I became involved in the project, it was actually Ed went off to the White House in he came back to Princeton in 2017. That's when I became involved in the project. We published an academic paper. Again, it was still very early on, and actually, I'll say even today, I think it's still very early on. Us really figuring out how massive this technology will be and all the use cases that it will enable. But it was really the belief in this technology all along, belief in smart contracts, and the belief that the current infrastructure wouldn't scale. And I'll just talk about briefly one more thing. What does it mean scale? Like, what happens when too many users come? And two things happen. One is there's just not enough capacity, so ultimately users get turned away. But in the process, you have less capacity than you have demand for that capacity, so the price goes up and up and up. And so when you have a system that sort of can't scale to the demand, first of all, it just can't meet all the demand out there, but also, it basically um, prices out a lot of users and a lot of applications, and only those who can afford to pay, much higher fees end up using the platform. And one example that I like to give is gaming, where on Ethereum layer one, it doesn't make sense to really have gaming because who's going to play a game where they have to pay tens of dollars points or more to just transact or interact in a game. But when you have scaling solutions like Arbitrum, particularly Arbitrum Nova, which we announced yesterday, it becomes a lot more feasible and it makes a lot more sense. So you can have gaming, and this is you can have a great game, and it's not going to break the bank either. And so our goal is really in that to be inclusive, allow new applications by lowering fees, building a better user experience, enable new applications to come to Arbitrum, but also inclusive to new users, right? So we're able to cater to geographically distributed users because a high fee for someone in one part of the world might not be the same as someone else. And by lowering fees, we can lower the bar to entry and enable new classes of applications, new verticals of applications, and ultimately a wider and wider set of users.
Yeah, thanks for the overview, Stephen. This is Doug Mechanics from Livepeer. I actually first came across Off-Chain Labs and Arbitrum. I think it was in 2019 at DevCon in Osaka, Japan, and I was on a panel with Ed, I think, and I was like, wow, these guys are really onto something in terms of a plan to scale Ethereum, which is much needed when everything else was just theoretical, and it felt like ETH2 was going to be years and years away. And now here we are, 3 years later, and congrats on all the progress that you've made in making Arbitrum real, and the launch of Nova and everything as well.
Thank you.
Cool. To give a little bit of background on myself and Livepeer, I mentioned I'm Doug Mechanics and the founder of a project called Livepeer, where our mission is to build the world's open video infrastructure, and we actually think of ourselves as the kind of the video streaming platform for Web3. When you have developers that are building social applications, things that look like Twitch or YouTube, but want to embed crypto economics within them and want to allow NFT minting and want to allow token gated access to streams and these sort of blockchain based primitives, Livepeer is the video platform for you to build upon. We've been live for almost 5 years now, actually, 4.5 years. We've been running on the Ethereum network initially. We migrated to Arbitrum in January in order to scale kind of the supply side of our network. I can talk about how that works, but all of our node operators, all our token holders that participate in creating this worldwide global infrastructure for video streaming need to use a blockchain and smart contracts in order to coordinate. And on Ethereum, doing those transactions, to do that coordination and to even settle payments, getting very expensive as gas prices rose. As Stephen mentioned, it becomes prohibitive to use for a number of use cases, especially things like social streaming applications, streaming within gaming, anything creator economy focused. Basically anything outside of DeFi became too expensive to do on Ethereum. And Arbitrum, as a kind of Ethereum secured and compatible scaling solution, was very compelling and credible for us, and delivered huge impacts to our community. So happy to talk all about that over the course of the AMA.
Awesome. And yeah, of course, thank you, Stephen, for that brief overview, and Doug yourself for on Livepeer as well. I know that we probably have a couple of different communities here. That's why I felt it was relevant to kind of just give a quick overview of both of them before we actually dive into the nitty gritty. So in this case, Doug, you mentioned it already, but Livepeer was previously kind of had its main home base on Ethereum, and you guys recently made that decision to move over all that kind of stuff to Arbitrum. What inspired that move?
Yeah, it really was inspired by the recognition that it was going to be too expensive for all the actors in our network to participate profitably, and most importantly, for new people to participate in becoming part of the Livepeer network. So what does that actually mean to be part of the Livepeer network? As I mentioned, we're a video infrastructure. We power video streaming, and developers building video applications can send video into Livepeer, and the Livepeer network will take care of transcoding that video to convert it into all the different formats so it can play on different devices. And it plays a role in the sort of origin services and distribution of that video with our software. And so who are the actors that play a role in this network? The first actors are node operators. We call them orchestrators. What are they doing? They're running Livepeer nodes. They're contributing their compute power, typically in the form of GPUs, the types of devices you might use to mine Ethereum or other currencies. Those devices happen to have video encoding chips on them that sit there doing absolutely nothing while you're mining. And so we allow all of these GPU owners and miners to run nodes on the Livepeer network and to earn ETH for encoding video. And so the way they do that is they registered on the Ethereum blockchain. They become available in a registry. The Livepeer protocol kind of discovers them through that registry and negotiates the price for video encoding with them directly off chain, and then sends video to those nodes for encoding, along with payments, micropayments that they have to then cash in on chain when they happen to kind of win a big batch payment all at once. And we can talk about how that works as well. And so running on Ethereum, when we launched 4.5 years ago, the average gas price was 1 Gwei. It sounds almost like a joke compared to what you've seen in the last year or two, but it costs just pennies to do these interactions of registering a node or redeeming a payment, or even our token holders that don't run nodes can kind of delegate stake towards these nodes, so the stake can move stake around, cost a couple of cents, right? And then, over the past couple of years, we've seen that rise to, an average price of 20 GUA, 40 GUA. We've seen prices go as high as 100 GUA, 500 GUA during extreme events, just rendering this network, unusable. The daily cost to claim your token rewards used to cost a couple of dollars or less, a couple cents. It was starting to cost hundreds of dollars, or even, we saw people pay $1,000 to make that call in terms of gas fees. Completely unsustainable. So we knew we needed a scaling solution that helped mitigate those costs. And with the migration to Arbitrum, which was quite a bit of work, I think we were the first protocol to not just kind of deploy a new version on Arbitrum, but actually do a full stake migration across 4,000 users all at once from Ethereum to Arbitrum. We were able to mitigate those costs tremendously. I think they came down about 98%. I think the cost to do staking actions or to claim daily token rewards or to cash in payments for encoding video came down to the order of cents or single digit dollars from where they were, and that made all the difference in terms of our node operators' ability to participate.
Yeah, thank you for that kind of I guess that whole kind of overview there. That I mean, and it's funny because I think it's a very similar story, I guess, that a lot of apps have been kind of experiencing. Of course, building on Ethereum, which is the whole reason why Arbitrum, we're building now. But I'm interested then, Stephen, like, what would you say? And this could be both from a technical point of view or even from like another standpoint, whether it be community or otherwise. Like, what about Arbitrum makes it the perfect environment for a decentralized live video streaming network like Livepeer?
Yeah, great question. And Livepeer is a really unique and cool protocol in the sense that it's like one of the OGs. Like I remember Livepeer from people talk about cycles from like the previous the previous cycle, and it was one of to me one of the most exciting projects then. And one of the things that's so exciting about Livepeer is it really has a real world use case, and it makes use of the blockchain to really increase efficiency and lower costs in a very disruptive way. And that's why what we do. I always say our job is easy at Arbitrum. Right? We create a platform, and everyone always asks for the same things. They say, could you lower fees? Could you make the experience faster? And so the experience in Arbitrum is as fast as Web2 today. You submit a transaction, and there you go. You have your result and the fees. Right? No one ever says, "Hey, Steven, do you mind like raising fees a little bit? Could you get them a little bit higher?" Right. So our job is super simple. It's not really simple, obviously. We have an incredible team of engineers that work hard to lower those fees and get that user experience without reducing security. But from a conceptual, like what our goal is perspective, we know what we have to do, and then it takes really creative teams, very creative teams on the application layer to take these tools and say, what can we build with it? And that's why Livepeer to me is so exciting and so unique, and that it really fills a critically important need. And as you see today, exciting new like decentralized streaming and video platforms that are making use of Livepeer. It just validates the need for the service. But to Doug's point, it's all about efficiencies and using untapped resources. But hey, if it's going to cost you hundreds or thousands of dollars to claim your token, we've gotten rid of the efficiencies. They don't work anymore, and you end up, being priced out. And this changes over time as demand comes, price comes up, and that's why, it's super exciting to have Livepeer and Arbitrum because I think, we're a long term, we're constantly saying, hey, how can we get our fees lower and increase our capacity? And it's it's doing that really enables the efficiencies, because the low fees are a critical part to it. And having the Livepeer community is one of the most established Ethereum protocols, building on Arbitrum, and to Doug's point, not doing only another deployment on Arbitrum, but actually fully living on Arbitrum, and its home base is on Arbitrum, is super exciting for us to support that, because again, it's a real world use case that's very obvious to see, and how it works and why it works and why it's so important and why it's so useful. And seeing Arbitrum enable that, where it was not longer really possible to do that in Ethereum layer one, you have a scaling solution, that's validating for us, right? Validating for us that, hey, we're doing something really, really important. We're doing something very useful, and we're doing that cross industry. And I think Livepeer is one of the most exciting.
Literally could not have worded that any better myself. Thank you, Stephen. So Doug, and then on that note, you moved over to Arbitrum. You kind of made that home since then. People have been bridging over their LPT tokens to Arbitrum as well. What has kind of spun up, like kind of from the team since your move? Like any updates, changes as the protocol itself, or anything interesting in that regard?
Since we migrated over to Arbitrum, you've actually seen a lot more activity in terms of token holders' ability to be able to participate and stake token towards the high performing node operators. We've seen new node operators who are able to join because where it used to cost hundreds or thousands of dollars to do those initial transactions and acquire and put down enough stake and approve the tokens and everything. Now it becomes totally accessible, and they can begin competing to earn the fees on the network, every single day. So it's been a big unlock. We've done a lot of the focus since we did this migration hasn't been so much on the protocol itself, which has stabilized a bit and over the years, but on the actual demand side. So actually getting users to build on top of Livepeer and use the network. Would it be interesting to maybe show some of the applications that are built on Livepeer so people can kind of see and understand what it powers?
Awesome. And I guess, I'm sorry, go for it. Are you still speaking?
No,
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 that would be a good time
Okay.
to show some of the applications.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. I was gonna say no, because that's I think that's like the most obvious result to have happen, right? Obviously moving over from Ethereum to Arbitrum should enable like a lot more activity to happen, and it's great to see that there's actually even more demand for it now because it's just more accessible, right?
Yeah, definitely. So why don't I show you guys? I can screen share here and just show everyone a little bit about what's built on Livepeer so they get a taste of the types of applications that are.
Yeah, let's do it.
Um,
You should be able to
let's see.
access the screen share now, I think, if you have that option.
Yeah, I think.
All right. If you're on the, by the way, on the voice call, top left, you can click on Doug's stream.
Yeah, are you guys just seeing a black screen here, or are you actually seeing a web browser window?
It's loading up for me currently. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like it's, let me see. Yeah, it looks like it's still loading up from my end.
Yeah, the preview here is just showing me a black screen, so I wonder if for some reason there's a technical difficulty.
Yeah. Yeah, let me try resharing it.
Yeah, let me
Let's see.
see. Are you I'll ask again, are you seeing a screen share or you're not seeing a screen share?
Oh, let me see. Oh, here you go. Yeah, I don't think I see one.
Try try one more time and see if it works here.
Third time's a charm. Popped up and then I left. I'm not even sure.
It keeps popping up and then leaving.
Watch stream. See, it's here now. Yeah, it says here the stream reviewing has reduced video or audio quality, maybe due to network conditions. Clearly, they're not running this on the Arbiter network.
Yeah, we need Livepeer to be powering Discord streams because
exactly.
whatever is streaming under there is not working super effectively. But yeah, why don't I just kind of describe to you all a few things that are built on Livepeer. So again, Livepeer is protocol for Web3 developers, right? And you can visit livepeer.studio and you can get a whole developer toolkit in terms of APIs and SDKs for live streaming, for uploading videos, and minting video NFTs through that. And some of the kind of popular developers that have built on top of Livepeer range use cases from kind of Web2 traditional streaming, where you'll see things like Picardo.tv, which is an artist streaming platform for artists and creatives. They're streaming their drawing and creating in Photoshop and Illustrator, and their communities are hanging out and making requests for specific items. And they have hundreds of streams of video flowing through the Livepeer network at any given moment. And also from the Web2 world, you see things like PlayDJ.tv, which has migrated over to something called Subspace. This is a streaming platform for DJs who couldn't perform live in clubs during the pandemic, but instead had to get their own room, can go live. And what was cool about them is they have launched on traditional streaming platforms and had thousands of DJs sign up, and it actually they just shut it down in a week because it was bankrupting the founders because the video infrastructure was too expensive. They found Livepeer. The Livepeer network is actually 10 times more cost effective because of this decentralized network of node operators competing for these video encoding jobs. And so they were able to relaunch on Livepeer and kind of iterate their business towards a more profitable model and evolve into where they are today. So those are kind of like examples of the Web2 world. Similarly, there you could visit a site called thelotradio.com. It's like a radio station that's live streaming. They're broadcasting 24/7 in Brooklyn. So again, using Livepeer for this kind of 24/7 around the clock streaming, which would otherwise be very expensive. But what's been really exciting recently has been the emergence of Web3 native applications, things that actually combine blockchain, smart contracts, tokens, NFTs, along with video-centric use cases, because I'm convinced these mechanics are so much better for creators in terms of being able to control their content and their audience, the ability to monetize their time in more sustainable ways, that it's kind of inevitable that you'll see the next Twitch or TikTok scale applications emerge with these Web3 primitives baked in. And despite none of them having millions of users yet, I think it'll just take a little bit of product vision and iteration before you see kind of a new paradigm emerge. So one that's pretty exciting that actually just launched and revealed itself yesterday is called LensTube, lenstube.xyz. It's sort of just the baseline framework for a decentralized YouTube. And I think they'll have to iterate. I think that there needs to be more to it than that to actually build a network effect. But you can see building on Livepeer, building on protocols like Lens protocol, which is a social protocol, you begin to unlock kind of new primitives around NFTs, user-owned data, etc. There's some really cool apps and other use cases. Huddle01.com is sort of the Zoom and conferencing application for DAOs and crypto communities. They use Livepeer for the live streaming, and if you record your streams for your communities to make them available later. I think this is really exciting, kind of freeing us all from using Google and Zoom-based login and identities for all the communication around DAOs and decentralized tech communities, which actually need new sorts of login systems, IDs, token-gated access, these sorts of things. And then the last one I'll mention is Beam.xyz, which is a really cool leader in the Film 3 movement. So filmmakers that are experimenting with Web3 primitives in terms of how they release their films, release their content. So I definitely encourage people to check out these apps, play with them, try them out, share feedback with the teams. I think that they all appreciate it. They're all iterating, and we're going to see really cool, new innovative experiences break out from there.
Wow, it's honestly really cool to see that there are already like multiple different kind of like apps using a Livepeer as its infrastructure. I feel like it's the kind of thing where since Livepeer I guess isn't like at the end of the day like the most like user facing thing where like someone's just going to come in and start using it right away. It's very nice to know that there are already multiple streaming services using it, and then people of course on the other side of that like benefiting from just watching the content that's using Livepeer as the backend. And
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Steven, yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
see
been
you.
interesting, like along the journey, because as you mentioned, like Livepeer itself is not a consumer app. It's not a YouTube replacement, right? But you have all of these inspired creators come to Livepeer thinking that it might be a YouTube replacement. They say, "Oh, I'm disenchanted with YouTube. They demonetized me, or I don't appear in the search results, or my community got banned because we accidentally played a copyrighted song in the background of our game stream or something." And they have all these challenges with big tech. And now there's all these kind of Web3 centric applications you can actually point them to that free them from the constraints they've built on those platforms. And under the hood, they can exist because of these open, decentralized infrastructures like Livepeer and other infrastructure protocols too, like the Graph and Arweave and IPFS and projects like these.
Doug and I also left the links of these projects that we were mentioning in the AMA chat, by the way. So if you're interested in taking a look, feel free to kind of look at some of those there. It's Stephen. I mean, so like in your case, like what would you kind of like, what kind of product, I guess, would you like to see built on top of Arbitrum while integrating Livepeer?
So, following on, Doug has some really, really great examples. Obviously, the social ones, although Livepeer isn't decentralized YouTube, but there are like decentralized YouTubes, like building on Livepeer. I mentioned LensTube, and some other really, really exciting projects. I think, the overarching theme here that I'm excited about is a lot of people talk about we're building a metaverse, and a lot of people don't even know what that is and what that means. And to some people, it just means transacting on a blockchain. To other people, it means um, a particular project, supporting a project that they like, either a gaming project or an NFT project or even a DeFi project. But really, if we're actually going to build a metaverse, it's going to require video streaming and interacting via with video streaming in the sort of virtual world. And I think Livepeer is really, really powering that. And much to the way that I said before about, hey, Arbitrum is this platform, and we just put out these tools. In a sense, like Livepeer is a platform built on Arbitrum doing the exact same thing, giving creators these tools to do incredible things. It's critical infrastructure. It's not user facing, but it's critical infrastructure for actually building a decentralized metaverse. Sure, you can build something that looks and feels like a metaverse without it, but actually decentralizing the video streaming is a really, really important piece, and that's what gets me really, really excited, is actually giving builders these tools, and Livepeer is doing that. And I'm going to say something which is maybe counterintuitive, but it's also exciting that some of the applications we've mentioned aren't even on Arbitrum, right? There could be another chains, right? Livepeer is Arbitrum home, but in doing so, it's actually servicing larger blockchain communities, and you can be even on a different platform and make use of Livepeer's service, which is itself homed in Arbitrum. And I think that's really exciting. Livepeer is really creating infrastructure for the metaverse. And in particular, I'm excited about Arbitrum projects. Particularly, we just announced yesterday the Arbitrum Nova chain, which is a chain that's focused on gaming and focused on social. And I have absolutely no doubt that we'll see some extremely novel applications of Livepeer's technology built on Arbitrum Nova, and I can't wait to see what those are. And it's really, again, it's about the tools. Our team is putting together a toolbox for builders. Livepeer is adding tools to that toolbox, and together, the next layer on top is going to build really, really, really cool things. And hey, users might not even realize they're using Livepeer, and that's a good thing, because the decentralized infrastructure is there, and Livepeer is there in the background powering that in a very, very strong way. And to me, it's just super exciting. And I'm not going to guess what the applications will be. I've tried that before, and there are just too many people that are much smarter than me that have really, really creative applications. But I'm going to watch, very, very excited, particularly with the launch of Arbitrum Nova, and I'm sure we'll see some really, really new and exciting Livepeer integrations.
Yeah, you mentioned a couple interesting things in there, Stephen, I want to follow up on. One is, all of the supply side of Livepeer, node operators, our token holders that stake and participate in the protocol, they're all very Arbitrum aware, right? Arbitrum is the that's their home network where they live and connect their MetaMask account and have a wallet on their node that's interacting with the Arbitrum chain and everything. But as you mentioned, the users, the developers, they can be abstracted from that. No video ever touches the blockchain necessarily. That's all coordinated through the peer-to-peer network. So they get the benefit of this huge network of kind of worldwide video infrastructure coordinated by Arbitrum, which is critical. But the end consumer, the million users that are going to use LensTube or StreamETH or Beam don't need to know anything about a blockchain, and that's critical. The second thing that you touched on, which I'm interested to dig into a little bit, is so Arbitrum Nova being focused on gaming. I think gaming is a really interesting use case for a couple of reasons. One is it's clearly the vertical that has most crossed over to the mainstream from blockchain-based use cases outside of just finance and story value. It's where you actually see mechanics being built into games that millions of users are playing. And I think streaming plays a critical role in gaming because gaming is part performance, it's part entertainment. People love to watch and engage with the top gamers. There's tournaments, there's competitions, and it's all accessed via streaming and video outside the context of the game itself. So for anyone listening to this call right now, if you're building something on Nova, you're interested in a game, a use case we'd love to explore is enabling kind of an in-game native streaming capability for you. So imagine you're building a game on Nova and you want a button right there in your game that says go live. And then that gamer now has a stream that's available that can be distributed, on the popular channels. You could stream through Twitch or YouTube if you want, but also can be accessible right there in the game itself or on the game's website for its fans. And I think that's a really interesting area for fan engagement. We'd love to collaborate with the Arbitrum team, with anyone building, to make sure that we're doing the first iterations of these product hooks in a way that work for you. And Arbitrum Nova could be a good platform to kind of be the center of that collaboration.
Absolutely, yeah, I would love to do that, and I think we're going to see really amazing applications using Arbitrum Nova and Livepeer.
So on the note of, the whole kind of like the cross-chain thesis, including now that there's multiple different Arbitrum chains, can you maybe go a little more detail, Doug, kind of how it would work technically, kind of using Livepeer on another chain, and if we kind of already touched on that, and maybe even more so, what the challenges may be, for using Arbitrum relative to Ethereum, and maybe how we as the Arbitrum community can meet those challenges.
Yeah, good question. So it's worth noting that the majority of use for Livepeer right now comes through hosted gateways that are connected to the Arbitrum chain, right? So someone will spin up a gateway. The most popular one is at livepeer.studio. And what that does is it connects to the Arbitrum chain, and it handles kind of the provisioning of API keys and whatnot to the developers that are building, and handles a little bit of that payments abstraction for the users that are paying in to use the platform. So the way that this is accessible from many other chains, or from just kind of accepting value on those chains or off those chains and issuing out API keys to use the underlying gateway nodes that are connected to the Arbitrum network, right? I think when you want to get into fully and permissionlessly connecting to the Livepeer network directly from other chains, I think you get into basically like payment bridging technology and credit deposit technology, right? And so you could imagine that as long as a node and a wallet has credit deposited on the Livepeer network, everything else, all the video stuff, is off chain, right? And so you could imagine an operator on, say, Solana or Polygon, just being able to deposit some native credit on their chain, as long as that credit can be converted over into Arbitrum ETH and bridged over and deposited into a Livepeer smart contract, your wallet address would now have permission to broadcast and issue payments off chain. And it's really that step, which is a little bit of the gap for the seamless cross-chain experience. And in the meantime, these kind of payment abstraction layers and hosted gateways come in handy. But I think, when you look at solutions like Bundler, if you've seen that sort of application for the Arbitrum network or for Arweave network, I think similar type solutions for all of these infrastructure protocols could go a long way. And I think there's opportunity to create this.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think that also kind of, frankly, like leads to my next question too. Is knowing all that, how can Arbitrum users, frankly, users in general, like get involved with Livepeer like, directly?
Great. So, go to livepeer.org. We have a great primer. It's a 10-minute visual primer that explains everything about the project, and of course, jump into the Discord community linked there, which is really the home of the beating heart of Livepeer is our Discord community where all our node operators, token holders, and developers hang out. So those are great starting points. Just to give you a sense of the role that you might play, there's a couple different profiles, and it's a little bit of pick your own flavor depending on your own interests, right? If you happen to be um, a miner and you have GPUs available, this is not everyone, this might be the smallest percentage of the population, you can run a node on Livepeer, right? You can earn additional revenue for encoding video without disrupting your crypto mining. That's a pretty compelling value prop. So there, our node operators are called orchestrators. You follow our documentation, get a node spun up and running, and start earning straight away. You can even join a public pool that some of our node operators run. There's one called Live Pool. There's a Titan node pool to make it even easier. So that's one way. One of the lighter ways that might be more popular here is just as a token holder. So if you get the Livepeer token via DeFi like on Uniswap or CeFi like through Coinbase or Binance, then you can stake that token towards a node operator. You're essentially QAing the network, routing work towards them, and they will share their rewards and fees back to you, and you'll earn a yield on your token in exchange for doing that QA. That's another crypto economic way to get involved. And then of course there's the sort of user side where I think there's two interesting ways. One, if you're a developer and you have a vision for a Web3 centric app that uses video, check out livepeer.studio, and all the information there is to get started building whatever you want on Livepeer permissionlessly. And finally, if you consider yourself a creator, like a content creator, someone in the creator economy, a streamer, etc., that's where I invite you to join our Discord and connect with a lot of these developers that are building applications, because oftentimes they want to partner with creators to help populate great content, feature your content, put you at the center of their launch or their PR and marketing. And really, when I think about the future of video, future of creator economy, I think a combination of creators, developers, and these underlying protocols and networks that need to work together to come together to build innovative new experiences. So there's a space for creators to get involved in that as well.
Very, very well kind of, put out there. I feel like usually the obvious thing is just to join the Discord and, contribute. But I like how you have it sectioned off for specific people because, telling it is obviously a lot better at the end of the day for a specific, niche,
Thanks.
of course.
I'm long-winded, so I could talk about those 4 categories forever. Feel free to interrupt me.
No, that's good. It's amazing. I think then what would also be nice too is just to kind of touch on some of the roadmaps, both from the Arbitrum team and from a Livepeer. Steven, if you want, maybe you can kick off, from the Arbitrum side. What's the kind of near/long-term roadmap looking like?
Yeah, so a few things, really exciting things coming up, and things that will, I think, make live pair on Arbitrum and live pair integrations more and more exciting. One we already touched on, which is with the launch of Arbitrum AnyTrust, particularly the Nova chain. That's going to bring a lot of gaming and social applications into Arbitrum, and as you mentioned, a lot more use cases. I think an innovation ground for live peer integrations. Second thing on Arbitrum 1, we're going to do shortly will be first on Rinkaby and then on mainnet, the Arbitrum 1 migration to the Nitro stack, right? So we have a new software stack called Arbitrum Nitro, and it's better in a lot of ways. Number one, it's going to be reduce costs, and that's going to be exciting because, like, as we reduce our costs, we just make um, more applications feasible to build on Arbitrum, and more users able to enter the system. And for those that are already using the system, like Livepeer today, cost reductions are obviously always welcome and make the economics even more favorable. The other thing to be said about Nitro is it's actually going to become significantly easier to run an Arbitrum node. And I know that there are a bunch of, in the Livepeer community, there's a number of people that are running Arbitrum nodes as part of that software, and that will be really, really exciting to see. I think their job will become a lot easier, and will encourage more to do that as well. So those are the two things that I would mention. On the very, very user-facing side, lower fees, more gaming and social, more live peer integrations, and on the developer side, those are actually running these nodes. I think they'll feel a significant significant improvement in the node software. So we couldn't be more excited for both the Nitro launch on mainnet as well as the AnyTrust chain. And by the way, the AnyTrust chain, so Arbitrum Nova, will be running on the Nitro stack from day one. So all those same affordances will already be on Arbitrum Nova as well. And I think it's going to be really a really big step forward for the Arbitrum communities, for the Livepeer communities, and for the larger Ethereum community as well.
Awesome. And yeah, Doug, on your side?
Sure. Yeah. So I think the kind of core table stakes for a video platform is that you have like reliable and cost effective and performant live streaming, video uploading and storage, and then in the Web3 world, kind of the minting capability. I also think is a table stake. So think of those as like the three primitives. And then on our roadmap, we're really in this kind of fast, iterative, experimental phase where we are working with teams that have a vision for building some sort of innovative Web3 native video application to help them run quick experiments around features like token gating. So when you have a community or a DAO and you're doing your live streaming content or community calls, or you're releasing a video that you only want your NFT holders or your token holders to be able to access, how do you kind of integrate with the blockchain to make sure that video is only accessible to those token holders or Discord members, for example. So building in those sorts of features. Experimenting a lot with things like provenance. So how do you create a live stream channel that's associated with your Ethereum address or your ENS name? And then how do you have on-chain permissioning and control of who can stream into that channel, and potentially who can access that channel? And then what are the economic splits of monetizing that content and split across rules according to smart contracts? So really doing a lot of experimentation with what Web3 uniquely enables. We also have a pretty aggressive roadmap on kind of the video technology side, leveraging these peer-to-peer networks for content delivery, which can dramatically reduce the costs off of centralized CDNs like Akamai and Fastly and the like. That might be, you go deep on video, it might be a little less interesting for this crowd here, but in our Discord, happy to pick up those conversations.
Awesome. Yeah, and hey, I think we have a very niche crowd. Like I feel like usually most people are kind of just chilling, like, okay, like if there's a token I'm involved, that's cool. And then maybe like 5-10% of them maybe you're like, okay, I need to know the nitty-gritty of everything. So I'm sure I'm sure all of it is relevant, I guess is what I'm saying.
Great, yeah, hop into the Livepeer Discord video dev channel. We can talk about different video protocols until the sun sets.
I do actually have like I guess one question from my side before we go to any of the community ones. I think I see one in the community actually that might have been answered already, so maybe I'll let that marinate for a little bit. But my question, and mainly of course for you, Doug, the live peer side, but Stephen, obviously, you can jump into, even though like I probably know the answer already, is in terms of like your strategy in terms of like getting the word out about live peer. What does that look like? Because again, Livepeer being more like a backend product, kind of similar to Arbitrum in a way. I'm interested in finding out, like, how do people end up, knowing about Livepeer, is it through the token usually? Is it like do like different marketing campaigns you guys do in Web 2? I'm just interested in finding out, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we've always been pretty conservative when it comes to the hype cycles that you see a lot of crypto projects kind of employ ahead of actually delivering, the value and the promise of their network. So the channels that have been really effective for us to attract real developers, real builders, have been kind of leaning into where Web3 experimentation and development is taking place, whether that be at global ecosystem events that are developer centric, like DevCon or DevConnect, hackathons. I think ETH Global has run incredible ones. We usually show up. We host a bunch of events with partners, and again, these are not like the strategy here is to really put community and put the Web3 movement at the center of what you're doing, as opposed to just trying to put Livepeer at the center, right? No one is showing up just to build a Livepeer app. That's not a motivation someone has in their head. They're showing up because they think that Web3 enables something unique and interesting about the future of social media, or the future of gaming, or the future of metaverse, or the future of creator economy. And so we really want to show up with partners that help enable those movements to move forward towards kind of the Web3 future that we all want to see exist. And so it's doing things like hosting and organizing day-long workshops, or brainstorming and design sessions with other projects, inviting the communities in, and kind of building a brand as a credible project that has real substance behind it, always showcasing the real use and utility of the Livepeer network. So if you go to the Livepeer Explorer, the first thing that at explorer.livepeer.org, the first thing you'll see is how many minutes of video were actually streamed through the platform last week. Over 2 million minutes of video last week. You'll see the fees that are flowing in. Just putting that kind of usage and utility front and center in all of the way we show up, the marketing that we do, and the way we reach the developer community.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you for that. Yeah. I mean, I always found that very interesting. So that's actually, that makes sense. I mean, really just targeting the people that know they want to do something, like, within that kind of, like live stream, like video kind of centric space, and making sure that, when they go doing that searching, Livepeer is what they find. That makes total sense.
Yeah. I think the opportunity there is, as we mentioned before, we've been live almost 5 years, and you go back 3-4 years ago, there was actually no, or I'll just say very few developers building like social apps, metaverse apps, gaming apps, apps that had the potential to cross over to millions of users. Like everyone was building infrastructure and DeFi primitives, right? And so we kind of, we were very practical. Our network was 10 times cheaper than the centralized cloud platforms. We started building a lot of product for the Web 2 world. And that was good. We got a lot of usage as a result, right? People responded to that, price difference, and built on Livepeer, that pushed a lot of fees through the network and helped us improve the product. But it's still a very crowded space, right? And so if you Google video platform, Livepeer is competing with 100 other video platforms out there, including some big companies with great products, right? But what's interesting now that the Web3 world has really emerged and people are building these in the Web3 space, Livepeer really has the ability to be the leader and a differentiated solution for the Web3 world specifically, because of all these chain-specific integration points and composability and crypto nativeness, that now you can be the search term that comes up when people are looking for Web3 video or blockchain-centric video, or Livepeer can just be top of mind for people building in that space, and that is a cool opportunity.
Wonderful. Yes. No, exactly. And for what it's worth, I think maybe we can also touch on maybe this question we have from the community here. I may reword it a little bit because I think we answered part of it already, but is there any way a content creator can directly benefit from Livepeer from a non-technical perspective? Hopefully that isn't kind of,
good question. I mean, there's the sort of indirect way, which is that you can partner with and help be a creator on one of these innovative platforms that's building on top of Livepeer, and hopefully the result of that is, better kind of control and agency over your content, direct connection with your audience, ability to experiment with monetization through these innovative ways like tokens and NFTs and whatnot. So hopefully you get some benefit of that. As far as like a little bit more direct with Livepeer, as I mentioned, within our community, we're always, supporting, putting together creators with application developers. I have a vision for building something. We have a grants program that will give grants to people building innovative video applications that serve the Web3 community and Livepeer community. And creators certainly have opportunities to be part of those teams and applications. Earn some Livepeer token in the process, stake it on the network, and you're essentially an owner in the network and building up your stake that way. So I'd encourage you to get involved in community programs through those mechanisms.
Great, Silver. I hope that answers your question there in the chat. We also have a comment from Churro over here. Going to use Livepeer to build my own social media app on Nova. We look forward to it. He's gonna call it Churro Eats. Okay,
Perfect.
that's nice to see.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Let us
Make
know if
sure
you
you
need any
guys.
support. We're here to help.
Yes. Also, and before we do end off here, because I mean, I think we kind of cut up there with the questions in the chat. I do want to flag too that Dune just launched on Arbitrum 1, so it'd be really cool to see some dashboards with Livepeer, relating to that as well. So for anyone out there who's a Dune master, I'm sure that'd be something really cool that both Doug and us would love to see.
Yeah, we have the Dune dashboards on Ethereum. I didn't know that it's live on Arbitrum now. I'm not sure if they've been upgraded. Good opportunity, potential grant opportunity if you want to work on that.
There you go, bam. And we're also running our own little bounty thing for like an Arbitrum ecosystem one too. But anyways, enough shilling. All right, so before we end off, guys, are there anything else you guys want to kind of flag, just for everyone to kind of wrap up today's fireside chat?
No, I mean, it was great to talk to you guys. Thanks for having me. Definitely check out livepeer.org. If you're a builder, you can check out livepeer.studio to get started. Join our Discord, follow us on Twitter for all the latest and greatest, and excited to be a deeper part of the Arbitrum community, especially as we collaborate on social and gaming apps on Nova.
Likewise, really great chatting today, Doug, and I see so much opportunity for us to continue building together, and hopefully some others that are listening today. And we inspired some, but we'll continue engaging and join the Livepeer Discord as well. And yeah, let's see what you build on Arbitrum Nova or Arbitrum One integrating Livepeer, and please let us know in the Discord chat.
Great. Yeah. Thank you guys for coming on today. The recording of this will be available a little later on in the week for those who joined late. Steve and Doug, you guys have a good day.
Bye-bye. You too. Thanks.